This is the Fight for Your Health, the show that teaches you how to master the fine art of living your life on purpose and have a longer, healthier, and happier life through the martial arts lifestyle. The show is hosted by Professor Buitron and his co-host, Grand Master Richard Hackworth. These two experts have combined their efforts and are on a mission to make the world a safer, healthier, and happier place through the martial arts lifestyle. Now, to tell it like it is, here are your hosts.
Hope everybody's doing well. We're back in Fight for Your Health, and my co-host Richard Hackworth, Grandmaster Richard Hackworth, is down under the weather, so some prayers to him. But I'm here with a great individual and a great martial artist from across the pond, Sifu Keith, and we're going to be touching base on some stuff that he's working on. He's trying to break a record, and we can talk about that. We can talk about conditioning, and especially for you guys out there, you martial artists out there that like breaking boards, and here's the best, so he can guide you in the right direction. How are we doing today?
Thank you for having me on. Yeah, doing good, doing good. Enjoying a bit of a rare sunshine here in Ireland. Normally it's grey and overcast, but it's actually sunny here today, so I'm enjoying it, and I'm in the outdoors, getting a chance to talk to you. So yeah, it's a good day so far.
Awesome, awesome. I'm glad you made the time to talk, and I want to basically, I'm more interested about you have an upcoming world record, right? That you're trying to break.
Yeah, yeah. This Saturday actually. What day are we say? Thursday. So I've got 2 days left. Saturday at 2 p.m. Irish time. So what's that, at 10 o'clock your time? I've got a world record, and again, it was something that was inspired out of a conversation over a cup of coffee one day at Christmas, and a local businessman who loves what I do, is very inspired by what I do, and he just said, you know what, you should do something really different this year, Keith, and set a new world record, or try and break a world record every month for 2022. Give you something to focus on. So I kind of took that idea and said, yeah, you know what, let's do it. It'd be fun, I mean, give me something to train for, and it give me something to focus on, because at the minute with everything that's going on, travel restrictions, and I've missed a lot of trips to the States at the moment. So hopefully we get back to some kind of normality. But this is giving me something to focus on and train for. And again, I never realized it would gain as much publicity as it has. So when you're sitting at home and in a little village in Ireland with 30,000 people in it, you're thinking, well, this would be something good for me to do. And all of a sudden you've got the local media, you've got the local governors and town councillors, and they're all kind of backing you, and they want to get behind you and shake your hand. So it's good. It's very good.
Yeah, awesome. I've always said it, martial artists are beacons within the community. I'm going to tell you why, because we help out without us knowing a lot of people with a lot of situations, mostly bullying in school, right?
Yeah.
Building self-confidence with a lot of kids that grow up, and they might not become black belts or old instructor statuses or continue forward. But that little bit that we taught them, or that, you taught them, has propelled them to become better citizens in society. And we might not think of that, we might say, oh, they left us, they're no longer with us, they didn't like us, or what have you, in our head. But in their minds, we gave them a lot in which they championed every day, and that's basically the reason why. Because now they're looking at the martial arts schools like, hey, you know what? They've really helped out a lot of folks out here. A lot of police officers come from the martial arts school. A lot of firemen, a lot of doctors, people that had no dedication, all of a sudden built discipline and dedicated themselves and became great citizens.
Yeah, but it's funny. Just comment on what you said there. We kind of tend to look at when you think of martial artists in history who made an impact, you kind of look back at the way the art of war, the book The Art of War, and how it's used in business throughout the ages, I suppose. And a lot of people still go back to that book today. But in something that happened recently with Grand Master Hackworth, he put up one of his posts on one of his pages, and it struck a chord with me. I thought, hold on a minute, this is something that belongs in that type of book, because it hit me on a business level as well as a personal level. And when I I remember reading the quote going, hold on a minute, that actually really strikes a chord. So you are right when you say we kind of tend to look at outside what's happening, and we look to the history of martial arts, and we look back, as far back as Bruce Lee, as far back even further again to Sun Tzu and all that kind of stuff. But local and everyday guys who are teaching martial arts, and the likes of Grand Master Hackworth, as I take as an example, one quote he put up, it struck such a chord. It changed everything I was doing that month and made that month actually more beneficial to me and to my students. So yeah, pillars in the community, yes, a lot of them are, a lot of martial artists are, but then you've also got the other ones who are leaders and guiders. They guide you on a different kind of path. It's not just martial arts, like you said, policemen, firefighters, businessmen. Businessmen can benefit from martial arts too. So, there's a lot of stuff there. And I think that's the one thing that I've learned a lot since connecting with yourself and Master Hackworth, Grand Master Hackworth. So thank you.
No, thank you for continuing forward. And I see that, and if you go back into history and you go back into the knights, or you go back into the warriors of old, they did martial arts in their own pro se, what they did. And when you see them, they were also, not only that, they were also ambassadors for whatever kingdom they were for. They were peacemakers as well. Not only warriors, but they went over there with dialogue. They knew politics. They knew how to go inside. They knew how to negotiate. They knew a lot of different things. And unfortunately, you as a martial artist, if you don't look at it, sometimes when we're younger and in martial arts and we were confronted by 4 or 5 guys, we basically talked our way out of it. We really didn't fight to prove anything. So we also had to negotiate. We had this street savvy behind us as well, whether it was passed on or whether it was through osmosis in the school or by watching others. But there's that type of, how can I say, streetwise mentality that sages that go out there that we also carry on there forward.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. And the beautiful part of it is that, like you said, part of something I talked about with Grandmaster Hackworth this week was the addition of breaking and the conditioning in the system. I have learned and also teach was the ability to test my martial arts on a solid object. So I didn't have to. And I remember being at seminars before, and the guy said to my master, he said, "Why do you break stuff?" He said, "Because bricks don't complain." He said, "If I hit you as hard as I hit a brick, you're going to complain." He said, "You're going to have a broken bone, you might have a bad bruise, whereas the bricks don't complain, the boards don't complain." So he said, when it comes to the breaking element, like you said, I don't need to fight. I don't need to engage in that confrontation to prove what I can do, because a lot of times I can prove what I can do through my breaking and my regimes that I train every week. And it gives me an opportunity to test my training on a weekly basis. So yeah, like you said, sometimes when we were younger, you were confronted with 4 or 5 guys, and you would have had that testosterone surge, and like, how do I get out of this? Do I go like a bull, or do I talk my way out like a politician? But it is what it is, and martial arts, I think, is a great way of focusing all that energy. And I have it with teaching kids and teenagers now, where you're trying to teach them that bullying is wrong. If you see a bully, you don't necessarily have to confront them. You can go around it. But the other side of it too is that people don't realize, and I'm trying to talk more and more to parents recently about it, is the fact that cyberbullying is something that no martial art can help us with. It's unfortunate that people are being cyberbullied. So sorry, I'm not getting off topic, but it is one of those things that's relevant today.
Correct. And the first person that brought up the word cyberbullying was Curtis Silva, a great Curtis Silva from New York, was the founder of the Garden Angels. I'm pretty sure you know who they are.
Oh, yeah.
And he came down and he was talking about, we're going to be confronted with cyberbullying, and we're here in Laredo because we had a surge of rapes. We had rapes incidents. We had a serial rapist here, and we came down there with the Guardian Angels and walked the streets for a bit, and it was some good times. So you're looking at them in a different format,
Mm-hmm.
And he comes up and he goes, "We're going to be struck with a whole cases backwards and forwards coming for cyberbullying in the next couple of years. And you're correct. Now you're saying this, that was supposed to have been what, maybe 15, no, about 13 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's yeah, about 12, 13 years ago when he came here to Laredo. And it's interesting that the word he said then it has already gone around the world, because nobody thought of cyberbullying, and
No.
the thing. And it is something that how can we defeat that? Because it follows you throughout all the social medias, and these people do that. But there's some laws now on the books for that,
Mm. Yeah.
and folks need to take that into consideration. Now, if you're having a conversation with somebody and it becomes an argument, that's not cyberbullying. We have to
No.
show the difference. And people get discord. It happens in normal life, and something happens, and they go against each other. Cyberbullying would be more if you're on Instagram and they're saying something to you on Instagram, and then you go to Facebook and they continue going to Facebook. And if
Yeah.
you go to somebody else's post and they continue going there, so you have to have a track record in most cases to build a case on that. And screenshots is the best way to do so.
Hmm.
Because if you complain about it, because in some states here in America, it is a crime. Um, so you have to be able to show a pattern that's being consistent. You can't
Mm.
just so and so cyberbullying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
But back on track.
yeah, yeah.
Talk about conditioning. What is the conditioning regime? And tell folks that, because a lot of martial artists out there think that I can just go out there and start breaking. That is
Well, I think a lot of things came to light for me in 2007. I've been conditioned since we were not allowed to condition before 18 because we had to wait until our bones were fully formed. So kind of 17, 18, depending on what way you were, build was, structure was. But our master wouldn't let us condition until that time. So, but a lot of things came to light for me in 2007 when I came to America first, and I competed in my first uh, competitive breaking competition with the USBA and actually the ISKA that weekend too. Um, and I found that a lot of guys were breaking at a tournament with no conditioning. I thought, this is very strange because to me, I can break Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and I don't hurt myself. Where these guys were breaking at competition, and that was them out of the question for the next week. Where I was going out, I was practicing on Thursday, practicing on Friday, compete on Saturday, refine on Sunday. So the conditioning regime that I followed led me to that part. And I'm not pinpointing any one person or any one team, but when I met guys there who were breaking their knuckles on 1 inch pine boards, I kind of thought, wow, this is something that needs to be addressed, And the unfortunate part is, no matter what you do across the social media and the YouTube world, if you do something and it looks too easy, it was fake. And I've been so criticized across YouTube, across Facebook, and so much so that one guy commented on one of my videos, yeah, we've got a fat guy in our club that can break too. And I kind of went, okay, you telling me I'm fat? So it's kind of that knock-on effect of saying you're taking away from what I've actually trained to do, and I put a lot of time and effort into it. And so the training regime for me is 7 days a week. So I condition 7 days a week. And the beautiful part of it is that I don't have deformed hands. Okay, they're a little bit larger than some, but they're not deformed. They still work perfectly. There's no arthritis. There's no sign of deformity. I've no dead skin, no bad calluses. My hands still look like my hands. So that was part of the beautiful regime I learned in the fact that you don't go to the extremes of deforming your hands. Like if you look on YouTube right now, you'll see guys who have literally their hands have turned black and look dead, but they're able to break a lot of stuff with them. But if you notice, it's one hand, not both. We condition both sides. So every punch I throw, I must be able to deliver a breaking blow with my right hand and my left hand. So I have to be able to do both. So without getting too engrossed in what I'm talking about, because I could talk this for hours, it's something I believe in and something I'm passionate about, So I Also, a word of warning to a lot of people, excuse me, is when you go onto YouTube, there's a lot of videos out there right now that can tell you, I can teach you to do iron palm, I can do iron fist, iron finger, yada, yada, yada. And it's a YouTube free video tutorial. And they claim that if you follow this regime, you can do this, this, and this. There's a little bit of false hope in that, because while, yes, you are learning some form of conditioning that they've learned somewhere, it's not what I would call supervised conditioning. I think supervised conditioning is so much more beneficial. And I'm not just saying come and pay me to learn how to do it, but find somebody who does it. Find somebody who doesn't have deformed hands, doesn't have, you know, a broken bone everywhere across the body from a break they tried. Okay, I've had mishaps, but you know, I've been trained properly, and there's a reason I'm where I am with the conditioning, is because I train properly and I do it correctly. And I always advise people, you know, get some. It's not like go and talk to your physician or your doctor, but get some advice from a martial arts instructor. Is this conditioning good? Is it bad? Is it real? Will it work? You know, and I'm always available. If people want to contact me, I'm always available. You can find me anywhere on social media, on the send me an email and ask a question. There's no problem. I'm not going to give away my conditioning for free, because I don't believe that's the way it works. But I will give you advice, and I will give you hints and tips if I can.
Absolutely. You see, in the purpose for this is to educate individuals that
Mm.
if you're interested in if you have a martial arts student that's interested in that, take them to the proper place. Not all martial arts do breaking. Not all
Yeah,
martial arts, how can I say, condition in that format. And some martial arts, as you say, are fake, which is true. But there's some realities in the martial arts, some real ones out there, like yours, that continues these traditions moving forward.
yes,
And there's others, you know, I'm not, you know, and what I'm saying is that look for those instructors, look for those instructors that are out there, ask around. And if your instructor says, no, I can teach you, and yet he hasn't done it, maybe it's time to kind of figure out what you're doing there. And you
yeah,
have to really look into martial arts. Remember, martial arts, it's there's such a wide variety, not variety, but there's a lot of, the spectrum is wide. So you
mm,
can do all kinds of competitions, from point sparring to breaking to full contact inside the ring. And there's specialties in that. There's some individuals that just specialize in that. And you
mm,
have to look into that. There should not be no, how can I say, no egos involved in it.
yeah,
And by martial art instructor, it should not be, because you're out there helping somebody else grow. And it should be more of a fellowship in case. And I learned this on the boxing spectrum,
yeah,
okay, and in Savant, and I learned it more so in the ring arts. Is you have coaches that can get you to the regional level, and maybe they can get you to the state level, especially here in the states, right?
mhm,
But once after the state, you want to go, then you compete in the state. Then you have a coach that's going to come in, or you have to take your fighter to that coach to be able to be trained to compete in the national level.
yeah,
And once you go, and I'm talking about USA Boxing, once you go into the national level and you make it, and they pick you to represent the United States, you have to put some time in Colorado Springs, Colorado, under the training of the Olympic coaches. They're going to
mhm,
take you to compete internationally, because now
yeah,
you're representing the United States. So the differences in training regime, the differences in skills, everything else, it's different. And if you're that coach that says, no, this is my fighter, I'm going to take them all the way up. Well, you might, you might, but you might also hinder that competitor from moving up as well. So you have to let egos go. And I'm glad to hear what you said. You know, that you'll help out for others that are looking, because breaking has always been something that has caught many martial artists. You know,
yeah,
and it's something that, like you said, you can break your knuckles real quick if you're not
yeah.
conditioned correctly.
But you know, in context of what you said there too, I've also run like my school. I closed just before COVID struck, but I still teach in school halls and church halls. But when it comes to the student and the individual, I teach Kung Fu and I teach Sanda kickboxing. Now, through the Sanda kickboxing, you also go into the realm of K1. You go into a little bit of boxing. You go into a little bit of Muay Thai. I've also been trained Jiu-Jitsu. My Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is very, very minor. Very, very like the bit of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu I've done is very little. So anybody who ever trained with me said, listen, I really want to do some MMA or I want to. So I found them as an instructor. I took it as my duty to find them the best BJJ coach close to me that wasn't going to kill them on travel and other expenses. And I've contacted that coach and said, listen, I've got two guys here interested in coming down doing some BJJ. They're still doing their striking with me, but they really want to do BJJ. And you're the best I can think of around me. And I've always been that way because I would rather help my student get the correct coach and the correct coaching rather than say, well, I can teach you BJJ. Well, I can teach you the basics, but I can't teach you anything like these guys can because I don't do it full time. So when it comes to that, it does come back to ego, and it comes back to the whole point of you're my student, you can't train anywhere else, or absolutely, you're my student and I'm going to help you be the best you can be. I think that's what we need to look at too, you know.
Absolutely. You know, that comes down to something that was told to me about a month ago. A couple of students said, what's the difference between kicking in Savate and kicking in Thai boxing? I said, you know what? I'll bring somebody down here that's proficient in Thai boxing to show you all. I'll do a workshop for you guys to understand what it is, because in Laredo there's nobody that teaches Thai boxing as per se, you know, that is proficient at it.
Yeah.
And so I contacted an old sparring partner of mine and I said, hey, are you still teaching? And he goes, yeah, he's up there in Austin. I said, well, now you have a workshop down here, so come down here in a couple of weeks. That's the way it should be. And that's the way it is. And people shouldn't, you know, frowning against it, you know, that's just the way it is.
But that's, you know, it's funny. I think it does come back to not only ego. I'm not going to brand everybody with the ego part, but I think it comes back to the unsurety of, if I show you something that I can't teach you, are you going to go to that club and not stay with me? And it will affect your business. But for every 10 people who ever came through my door, I was lucky if I kept one. So I needed 100 people to come through the door to keep 10. And if one of those people wanted to go a different route, well, I wanted to make sure that person went the best route possible. So again, it was only the fact that I was a bit more willing to let people try things. And again, my own father was my first master. He was very, very upset with me wanting to try jiu-jitsu. All my friends were doing jiu-jitsu, traditional jiu-jitsu. And it was a clash of personalities between him and the guy, the master of that jiu-jitsu system in Dublin. And that's what it was. It wasn't so much about me wanting to do jiu-jitsu. It was more of a clash of personality between those two guys. But he overcame that and he supported me with it. And 2.5 years later, I'd gotten to brown belt level. And then I said, okay, I've had enough of this now. I need to move on and do something else. So I went back into the Sanda kickboxing for a long time, alongside the Kung Fu, because both of them married into each other. And I found that the jiu-jitsu eventually had helped me so much with my Sanda throws that it was beneficial. So it was worth my while doing that time with the jiu-jitsu. So, and again, I look back on all of my training very fondly. I don't think I've wasted too much time in my training, but again, like that, you know, and I know, you can go into an area of training and try and develop it, but you're wasting your time because you haven't dedicated enough to it, or you don't get the dedication from the instructor that you need, you know. So again, look, without getting off topic too much, because we could ramble all day, but in terms of conditioning, yeah, I do believe. And if you look at, there's associations out in America. One I'm heavily involved with is the USBA. Those guys are competitive breaking. Mike Reeves down in Orlando, he's another guy who's out there. IMAF, I think, is the federation he has. There's a lot of different federations out there, but again, these guys, if you Google search now, most people, you'll find somebody who knows how to break. And again, as I said, anybody who's ever got questions, my email is out there on the internet, and all my contact details are out there, except my phone number. Keep that private.
Of course. And Sifu, you have a good day, and it's always a pleasure talking to you. And you have to let us know on Saturday what occurred. And
Yeah. Well, hopefully all going well. I got a kids class. They're doing a standard grading beforehand. Then we have the record break at 2 o'clock, and then we have a few other bits and pieces planned because I have a lot of martial artists coming on the day to lend a hand and kind of be there to support me. So we might as well use it while we have it, and we have the hall for an extra hour so we can get some training done. So hopefully all goes well.
awesome. The best of luck and God bless you. And keep on
Thank you
doing
very
what
much.
you're doing. You're a beacon over in Ireland. So
Thank you very
until
much.
next time, folks. And folks, you all stay safe, be safe, and train wisely. That's the best way we can use it. We'll end that with that note. Till next time, much peace.